Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the tropics once again. To start off in the North Atlantic, we have Tropical Storm Idalia, which has continued moving east in the open waters of the Atlantic off the coast of the southeast. The southeastern United States has continued to see improving conditions. The only place with a tropical storm warning up is North Carolina along the coast. As Tropical Storm Idalia continues to move off the coast of the southeast, it has continued to weaken, and it could be turning post-tropical by the time we get to today in the evening or tomorrow early in the morning. After the system weakens into a post-tropical system, most likely, it is probable that it will be moving to the the southeast, and as it makes its way southwest, it could re-strengthen back into a tropical storm, and then curve back to the northeast, where Bermuda actually has a chance of seeing this as a tropical storm. Bermuda could see a tropical storm warning issued in the coming days, so we'll be having to watch for that. After Idalia moves past Bermuda, this system could curve back to the north or even the northeast, where we'll be having to watch for future land impacts with this system. We could see a more out to sea track, however, it looks a little bit more unlikely than a curve to the north. You'll notice that Florida is not expecting impacts anymore with a secondary landfall. It looks unlikely as of now that the system will curve back to the west and move towards Florida. As I mentioned, the system could move out to sea, however, it will most likely be moving north before any future movements will be possible, moving out to sea or towards maritime Canada. We'll be having to watch for specific areas that could be impacted by the system after its passage over Bermuda. Now looking at the rest of the Atlantic, we have Hurricane Franklin, which is at a Category 2 strength as of now. The wind field is all the way to the north and east of Bermuda, so no tropical storm winds being felt in Bermuda as of now. This system is expected to remain a hurricane until Friday, and according to the National Hurricane Center, this system should turn post-tropical by Saturday with hurricane or tropical storm force winds before continuing to move on to the northeast and remaining a post-tropical system through early next week. Hurricane Franklin currently has maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour, and that is expected to decrease over time. Now, looking at the other systems we have, the final tropical storm active is Tropical Storm Jose, which formed from, I believe, Tropical Depression 11, and this was a recent formation. This system is expected to continue to move north through Friday, and then after that, we could see the system weaken. We'll look at this in a few models. And then we have a Disturbance 2, just to the west of Jose. This is actually the remnants of Gert in the central subtropical Atlantic. And according to the National Hurricane Center, this system has a 30% chance of forming within the next 48 hours and 7 days. However, most likely this system will form, if it does form, it will be in the next 2 or 3 days. I believe 30% is a little high now since this system has still not formed, so the system's chances will continue to decrease as we get farther into this week and into the weekend. Now looking at our final AOI, we have Invest 94L, which is in the far eastern MDR, just to the west of Cape Verde. It has a high chance of forming 70% in the next 48 hours and 7 days. What this is telling me is if it doesn't form within the next few days, its chances will decrease slightly, and the more time that passes, significant decrease in chances for development. This system looks like it is moving to the northwest, and then its chances will decrease as it possibly moves back to the north. We'll take a look at that on the models as well. Now looking at the Eastern Pacific, we actually have nothing going on in the next 7 days. And in the central Pacific, we actually had that area of possible development is no longer marked by the National Hurricane Center. So that is a good sign that we do not have anything forming in here. Now, looking at the individual storms, this is Idalia as of now. A lot of its convection really died off, and this is telling me that it is likely to turn post tropical very soon. Looking at Hurricane Franklin, it has really weakened since the past few days, and this system is continuing to weaken as it moves to the northeast. Now, looking at our other systems, Jose is not too strong as of now, but there is some decent convection going on here, and it is a tropical storm according to the National Hurricane Center. The remnants of Gert, as we mentioned, could form, but is not looking too decent as of now. It has a low chance of forming in the next 2 to 3 days before its chances really decrease. Now looking at 94L, we see there is some decent convection. However, this system has not formed as of now, but it has a high chance of forming within the next 2 days, and its chances will decrease after that, likely. Now looking at the forecast models for the North Atlantic, we see with the GFS, Jose will be moving to the north, and Franklin will likely absorb the energy, as it is much stronger than the system. Gert actually has a chance of forming beyond 7 days according to the GFS, but it does not look like it is a too high likelihood that it will form. Idalia continues to weaken and then strengthen according to the GFS, and then possibly moving to the northeast all the way towards just to the east of Maine before impacting Nova Scotia as a likely post-tropical system. We have other waves as well, some extratropical systems moving around. Franklin really persists for a while in the North Atlantic, in the northern part of the basin, moving all the way towards Iceland or Greenland. Looking at Invest 94L, it decreases in chances over time for forming, and then after moving to the northeast, it curves to the north and then to almost due east, moving towards Europe as a post-tropical system. Now moving on to future systems, which we have less confidence in, we could be seeing some more waves coming off of Africa, and we need to monitor these because depending on how much wind shear or how much these systems can take advantage of the warm waters in the Atlantic, we'll see these systems possibly strengthen and impact land. As of now, the GFS is hinting at Caribbean impacts and another system moving in the open waters well off to the east of Bermuda. It actually shows Invest 94L and this other wave impacting in the central Atlantic from the Fujiwara effect well off to the east of Bermuda. Now looking at the European model, we see that we have a similar story with all of these systems. Jose gets absorbed by Franklin, and Idalia moves to the north, but the European has it stalling more than the GFS. The GFS had it stalling, but I believe the European has it stalling for a slightly longer period of time, and then it could be moving out to sea, but it will likely, in my opinion, move to the north before possibly curving off to the northeast or the east. Looking at our other systems, Invest 94L could form before its chances really die off as it moves all the way up to the north. Now looking at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we have 3 systems active in the western Pacific with some other areas to monitor. Super Typhoon Saola, which is currently a Category 4 typhoon, was a Category 5 yesterday and is continuing to move off to the west. Haikui has strengthened to a tropical storm and is continuing on its slow strengthening trend to the west-northwest. And Tropical Storm Kirogi has formed in well off to the east of Haikui. Looking at the individual storms, we can see that one of these is very strong. As I said, Saola is a Category 4 cyclone, and according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, 130 knots for a Category 4. Impacts towards southern China and Hong Kong are possible before the system moves to the south as a weaker tropical storm, and most likely dies off, but it could be lingering with some future impacts. We'll be looking at that. Looking at Haikui, we've had a large burst of convection recently, indicating its strengthening trend. Looking at the models for Haikui and the Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone, it is expected to turn into a typhoon shortly and move towards the northern part of Taiwan and possibly mainland China. This system is expected, as I said, to move to the north slightly and the west, and then after it's skirting along the coast of China, it could move to the north and then eventually the northeast. However, as of now, that is unknown since it is pretty far out. But what we do know as of now is Haikui will likely move towards northern Taiwan before making its way along the Chinese coast and possibly moving back out to sea towards South Korea or Japan. Looking back at Saola with the models, after its southward turn, after going along the coast of southern China, it could move back to the west, the east, back towards Taiwan as a much weaker system. Looking at Kirogi, it could intensify slightly, but the Joint Typhoon Warning Center believes it is at its strongest intensity as of now, and it will continue to weaken, maintain its intensity, and then weaken as it moves to the northwest and eventually almost due west towards southern Japan as a weak tropical storm or a tropical depression, and possibly even weakening into a post-tropical system. After moving towards southern Japan, it could curve off to the north towards South Korea as a significantly weaker storm. Some models are hinting at a possible stronger system in southern Japan or even South Korea, so we'll be having to watch for that. But as of now, the system looks to be weaker than our other two systems that are active. Finally, looking at 95W, we see that we have some thunderstorm activity going on and showers, not too organized as of now, and is not marked by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, but it is to the southern part of the basin, and it could be forming within the next few days, but has a small chance of forming. It will move to the east slightly before curving off to the north and eventually the northeast, or northwest rather, towards Japan, but as of now, as I said, chances are unlikely for development, but of course, Kirogi had a small chance of development, so this system may increase in chances of development over time. Finally, looking at the GFS model for the Western Pacific, and then we'll look at the European model. Saola moves inland into China along the coast and making landfall, most likely, and before dying off completely. Haikui moves towards Taiwan and makes landfall as a typhoon, and you'll see some other waves active as well. Kirogi moves to the north and weakens as making its way to Japan, and we have some other waves active. Looking at the European model, we have a similar story. Saola weakens, and we have a weaker Haikui in the northern parts of Taiwan and mainland China, and our other systems active are much weaker even than the GFS model is hinting at. Alright, that is going to do it for today. Thank you for watching.